Hello, hello, hello. This is now Mohammed Chilan coming to you now from the United States. And my co-host today, Mr. Victor Mengot, no good day with me for the presentation because he's recuperating from some medical ailment. So, but welcome again. Today is September 7th, 2025. Sunday, September 7th, 2025. And so I just give one we original or the preliminary statements that we can always mention. Number one, for making I know how for reach we, and I also want for let the listeners them, the audience know say the line, because this is an interactive presentation. For when I was familiar with the show. And so we're presenting live. So if you get any question, you can call. I will tell you the number just now. And if you not call, you also can just send in a written comment about your position or whatever that position is, whether this is just a comment, whether a disagreement, whether a question, you are welcome to it. So we get several ways you can reach me. And we also like people I know say the main number, unlike before, the main number for calling at the WhatsApp number, when I 1-343-997-5828. 1-343-997-5828. That is the main number, because regardless of how you're doing at the world, whether you did within the United States, whether you did anywhere else, whether you did back home, it costs you nothing. You can call and just listen, send in your comment, or do whatever you want, you feel comfortable with. We also get a radio station in Freetown. We're an FM station. We're in a radio, 91.9 FM. As I always tell people, for you to be able to listen to that radio station there, you get for going at the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store and download the VOS Voice of Salon app. You get for going to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store and download that. If you not do so, depending on which side you listen to a program, if you want to dial a radio, you might end up with a 91.9 FM way not to Australian or not to VOS station. So that's why it's important to get the app. So I strongly encourage anybody, like if you're driving your motor car, you're in at the Freetown area, you want to keep up with the presentation. So you are advised to just please take your time, download the app at the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, the VOS app, and then you will get easy access to it. Okay. We're also carried on other medium that we want for let also know. Then they carry on Facebook. Then they carry we on Instagram. Then they carry we on X, when I be Twitter. Then they carry we on YouTube. So to start with, on YouTube, if you just go on VOS television, or you should be able to get we, for see we. This presentation as well as others. On Facebook, likewise, go on VOS television. You will be able to see we and hear we and maybe reach we. Then if you go on Twitter, which is now known as X, but formerly it be Twitter, VOS television, likewise, you should be able to reach we. Then the website for VOS TV will be www.vostelevision.com. www.vostelevision.com. If you aren't going on the radio, you can go, if you aren't going on the site, and the website for listening to the radio, you can able get VOS radio website at www.vosradio.com. www.vosradio.com. And as I said to you earlier, go on the Google Play Store, the Apple App Store, download the VOS app, and you will able to get VOS television. We also can be carried on what you call Twitch TV, when a VOS television likewise. As usual, we get a charitable organization which is called VOS Helping Hands organization. That now an organization set up for assist picking them in our country, Sierra Leone, all over the country, with scholarship of some sort, where they try for push forward for get more education, but then parents not get the financial ability for push them to the best of their mental ability. So what that mean is that, we're back home like you say, monkey one box, but your hand short. Some parents and they want forget and picking all the support to it and can, but they might not be able to. So this organization now for just get some money, we'll be able to share and distribute among picking them way then parents then really not get the ability for push them further, but then gets the ability for go further if somebody they would push them. So that is called the VOS Diaspora Helping Hands. It's a non-profit organization. So you can make whatever contribution you feel like making. There is no minimum or maximum. There's no amount is too small. Of course, no amount is too large. So we strongly encourage you now for do that one day. Okay. So that said, we'll get a few things we want to talk about today. And as I mentioned earlier, my co-host, or my usual co-host, Mr. Victor Mengot, no good day today. It's possible that he might join us by audio. If he's listening to the show, sometimes there are certain issues where we want to address, where able for because on the show, we're not going to see him. He's quite welcome. He say he might do that, but we're not telling Una for say he will, but he might come on the show by way of audio and voice, just for make some clarification or contribution or suggestion. But for right now, for today's presentation, not the only presenter. Also, we have to let you know that we'll not be doing a presentation last week because of the big holiday where we'll get in America here, what they call Memorial Day, Labor Day. So we had to Labor Day. So it was a serious holiday in this country, so which is usually very much observed by a vast majority of we in this country. So that was the reason for the absence of last week's presentation. So today we're heading to be justice, roads, and rights. Justice in Sierra Leone, and we want to just touch on a few things because Sierra Leone, so much is happening now. So we just want to do social media review, and then one of the things we want to do, there's some administration, dispensation, and access to justice. Sierra Leone, they try for what they call repeal, meaning they want to do away with the 1965 Criminal Procedure Act. They get a law, a body of law within a group and column, the Criminal Procedure Act of 1965. So they say they want to repeal them. Repeal then use. It could be repeal, it could be amend, but they say they want to repeal them, which means they want to replace them. Okay, they want to replace them. They want to come up with a new Criminal Procedure Act, where according to them, now for refine, for improve the system, and so now for improve the system. That's so then say, but in trying to repeal it, a lot of us say they want to replace the whole existing body of law as it exists right now. Okay, so because of that, we are going to touch on that. We will touch. They get several headings. Then we're going to talk about, the role of the Chief Justice, and then we'll get some cases. Then we'll cite about why justice need to be improved in Sierra Leone, and which may happen. And then we'll go also touch on other matters where, depending on how much time we have left, when we touch on one topic to the other, we might be able to talk about the city council, the mayor, and the non-improvement of roads or streets in Freetown, which is a prelude to what's happening in the rest of the country. Okay, so with that said, let me ask the control room for just pose or present a video on and the Chief Justice. So we would just group that, the current event between the judge and the Chief Justice, Sierra Leone. So we'll mix that up with the other issues about the Criminal Procedure Act and how best we can do for improve the legal system in the country. So if I can ask the control room for just play that video there for we, then we can go further.
The learned Justice Alan Holloway writes, whether it's a complaint or a request or a challenge. So, I mean, we are a bit confused. Is this a complaint? A complaint to the Chief Justice? Is this a request? A request to the Chief Justice? Or is this a challenge? A challenge against the authority of Chief Justice?
So, how una see am as Human Rights Commission?
So these are issues and way I think so also.
How una see am from the Human Rights Commission?
How we see am?
Yes.
Yeah, so that is the point. Where do we stand? I mean, where does the learned judge stand in terms of the letter? At some point, of course, he was making requests. You know, he gets A, B, and C issues, and we, let's say the Chief Justice opportunities the Chief Justice don't take away from him. But another breath, you will see, it make extent that he complains it's therefore put to the Chief Justice. And then in another breath also, you see say it's like a challenge that, oh, you have to resign your position, or you should be changed, something like that. So I believe that now make us say these are things that we for actually sit down for solve internally as a justice sector, other than for make it come out, don't come out too. Because all of these are issues that a lot of people will come and sit with. I am happy that the mouthpiece of the judiciary then at the studio. I don't know. I mean, if you don't get any engagement with the author of this letter, I mean, the very senior Justice Alan Holloway, for letting able to know exactly what's in at the issue and how we will resolve them. I understand, yes, that the Chief Justice right now in the out of country, but then as a way of a preliminary engagement. Before you could have actually engaged the author and see exactly what's now in concern. I know clearly he's saying, oh, I've been denied A, I've been denied B, I've been denied C. But also you'll see that the language at some point it even changed. You know, like say, okay, I'm making a challenge on the authority. At some point, okay, I'm making a complaint. So these are issues that I don't really want for we get a public traction on them. Let us wait for the Chief Justice for return. We don't promise we're able to engage the Chief Justice and we're able to make sure we resolve this matter. These are very senior officers of the judiciary. And we all know the judiciary and that arm of government, an independent arm of government, we get the judicial onus on the shoulders, you know, for make sure justice is dispensed in this country. So if that can't see they happen, then you begin the layman, the one in Sierra Leone begins to say, if a Supreme Court judge they cry about justice or human rights violation, how about me? Where do I actually cry when I get this kind of thing? So I'm very confident on behalf of the commission. The commission is very confident that this issue, upon the return of the Chief Justice, will be addressed and will be addressed professionally. So let us exercise some restraints let us exercise some restraint and candor and professionalism for address this issue, so that no come up bad. The car will come up bad. So that no, I'm not sure that was the intention of Justice Alloway. I'm not sure he intended that it reach this kind, or it be escalated as how it's been escalated right now. Although maybe by oversight or something, he himself also copied a lot of other non-judicial organs them, or non-judicial bodies them. In a way, don't make now this will become a very topical issue.
Okay.
On social media, everywhere.
All right.
Where people in the hold on to files them without actually dispensing justice. Again, another thing we strike attention now as to whether this letter the landed Justice Alan Holloway writes, whether it's a complaint or a request or a challenge. So we are a bit confused. Is this a complaint?
Okay.
A complaint to the Chief Justice?
Okay.
Is this a request? A request to Chief Justice?
Now,
or is this a challenge?
We asked for
a
this
challenge
video
against
from
the authority
plate
of Chief Justice.
because
So I wanna
we
see
deal
him
with the
as Human Rights
overall
Commission.
Those are issues
issue
and way I think so
of
too.
the
I wanna see him
administration
from the
of
Human Rights
justice
Commission.
in Sierra Leone. And then, if we want to do that one day, they try for see this a good illustration that what thing that happens between the judge or the chief justice and another justice, now the system. So there are certain things that must not happen, but they do happen because we basically, looking at the practice in Australian, where some of we see, you just wonder whether there is an effort or endeavor for improve or make the system, existing system, be it political, be it judicial, be it legislative, no matter what, whether we intend from the get-go or from the inception, from the beginning, whether we intend for whatever we try for legislate or introduce, whether the intention is to make things work, or whether the intention is to dilute or weaken the strength of whatever is already in existence, so it will work less efficiently, so it will give undue advantage to a minor group or a minute group of people. We're not going to be beneficial to the country at all. We're going to put the country backwards. Because what we all for realize, although they can use the phrase, say, three co-equal arms of government, but in political reality, they are not equal. I think Parliament, when it is legislature, get more power, supposedly, or should have more power, supposedly, because all the laws then they come from, the laws that have to be interpreted by the courts, now they then make their laws then they. So then that's the origin of we three arms of government. So they get more power in many ways than say the judiciary, way in the other arm of government. Okay? And then of course the executive, when that is led by the president in your section. But all them power, the president in power, and the other side, the other two sides of your power, they come from Parliament. So sometimes, as simple as that may sound, I will often refer to that as three equal arms of government, but they're not equal. Okay? And the reason why that is important, because parliamentarians are need for no say, then get an extraordinary responsibility for treat legislations or laws they wouldn't try to pass efficiently, seriously, for treat and seriously, so we will get the best of what we intended. Passing laws them just like for routine purposes, or passing laws them with ulterior motives, like the Cyber Act, which I still think was not legislated for sincere purpose. I think it was an act that was very much premature. it wasn't a necessary act that Sierra Leone needed. And what you would see, we all begin to see the trend that the Cyber Act is being misused in many ways by authorities, accusing people of being in violation of that Cyber Act Day, something that should have nothing to do with cyber violation. And then they call on cyberbullying, So if you write an email to someone and threaten the person, say, I will report you, I will expose you. All this kind of thing is being translated into cyberbullying, which is a gross misrepresentation of the spirit and the intent of that law. So now we are seeing a similar thing in terms of this, which is going on between the Chief Justice and Justice Alloway. So now here is a judge who they make a lot of allegations then. There are mechanisms or procedures in place for handling things in there. But this is what happens. When you take integrity, you take reliability, you take trust in the system, this is what it results to. Because obviously, Justice Alloway knows what to do in terms of their own procedure for reports, discontentment or dissatisfaction with the Chief Justice. But he chose to go outside the perimeter there because he figures he will get more mileage this way than the other way. So all of us, if we love our country, we should be concerned, The judge accused Justice Commander of gross unconstitutional breaches and human rights violation, calling on him to resign and all of that in strong letters. And Justice Alloway alleged that Chief Justice unlawfully ordered the withholding of his mid-month allowance, blocked his fuel supply, and persistently frustrated the payment of his salary. Well, if these allegations are true, the system should never tolerate that. A Chief Justice should never have such power as to be able to affect or get an impact on the livelihood of anyone, let alone a former justice or a current justice, because that power should not be given to the Chief Justice for affect somebody in salary or in means by which he goes to work. So in transportation, and so these are some of the things. When we talk about that, we are wishing that the country will come to the point where we respect the rule of law. But the one day, because in law, I'm sure my colleagues then go tell you, say, there's a saying in the legal profession: he who seeks equity must do equity. I must do so with clean hands. So if now we're responsible for give equity, we for do so with clean hands. The justice system itself cannot be abusive in its nature, cannot be taken undue advantage of. But sometimes these things happen for let we on the outside begin to see why it is necessary for get people of high caliber. And when we talk about caliber, we're not talking about just book, or you get a PhD, or you get 4 or 5 PhDs. That's not it. There's a thing called integrity that goes with all of that thing there. Credibility matters. So, for example, let me just read a little bit of the Justice. In a strongly worded letter of August 11, 2025, Justice Alloway alleged that the Chief Justice unlawfully ordered and withheld his mid-month allowance, blocked his fuel supply, and persistently frustrated, whatever that means, the payment of his salary. Okay. He further claimed that requests for vehicle maintenance and medical refunds, which form part of his conditions of service, were deliberately ignored, forcing him to bear costs that should have been borne by the judiciary. And last July, Justice Alan Holloway also wrote a letter protesting against the Chief Justice's interference in a case he was assigned, arguing that such actions undermine judicial independence, exceed the Chief Justice's authority, and compromise the fair administration of justice. All right. And he expressed concern over the Chief Justice's practice of recalling partly heard matters from judges, which is extraordinary. A case that is already being presided over by a judge, for just recall that case there and put them before another judge. These are things that should never be allowed, arguing that such actions undermine judicial independence and threaten the administration of justice in Sierra Leone. This is always stressed in the letter that the Constitution vests judicial power in the judiciary, and that no interference, even from the Chief Justice, should obstruct a judge from the performance of his constitutional duties. Okay? So this is very revealing. And the gentleman we see in the video just now was talking about, because the implication from what he said is almost like saying, well, we shouldn't be washing, the judiciary shouldn't be washing the dirty linen on the outside. That may be so. Maybe it will be more, I think, prudent for them to talk it over. But I do know there are procedures set that when a judge is dissatisfied with the Chief Justice, there are processes that you go through. But I also know, say, a judge will only go outside that process if he himself doesn't trust the already set rules and procedures to go by. So this is very telling, okay? And we have to take it seriously, because if a judge, they complain about injustice and unfair treatment, what else can the ordinary man say? We don't get any say-so, And again, let me tell you why all these things are interconnected. If the judiciary is not trusted, what are we talking about having foreign investors? We get a classic case of what happened now between Koidu Holdings and the First Lady, and which I think will be a test of a system. So you have to have judges of integrity. Judges who will put personal biases aside and look at this case and ignore the status of the parties then, and look at the case objectively. Because if Koidu Holding, which is, I believe, is mostly owned by foreigners or by a foreign company, if they cannot get justice in our country, what encouragement are we giving others to come and invest millions of dollars in our country? And then we talk about job no day. But we get for build institutions. Institutions have to be built. And when we say build an institution, no institution can be built without integrity. And integrity, the character, we're impeccable. It's impeccable in the sense that regardless of who is on which side, you, when at the arbiter or the person we then call mediator or judge, sitting on that should ignore the positions of the parties. Rich, poor, powerful, weak. All a judge should put aside all the awareness of them people and deal with the facts as they are. That's what law is all about. You see, they all normally can say everyone is entitled to his opinion, but you are not entitled to your own facts. Because facts, they come in one form, not a two form. If I slap somebody, it's a fact that I strike the person. Okay? No matter whose side you're there, if you see what happen, you see me slap him. So, we can begin to mix that up now with begin to say, well, the reason we make Mr. Shillon not come, that's not the issue. Did Mr. Shillon strike this person or not? Then we might go to the rest of why. Okay? So if we don't get them fundamentals here in place, it is going to cause a lot of problem for we. And we're beginning to see that even between or among justices. When you get a judge, and don't forget now, this, it's really distressing. It was not too long ago that we see a member of parliament complaining about the vice president concerning some diamond dispute. The vice president. We should have a judicial system that should handle that. That no vice president should have the power to think he go anybody or is above the law, that he can't be taken, and if then taken to court, nothing will come out of it. But we see that there was a video going around where this member of parliament, they claim say some diamond dispute between people them or in family them, and some of the vice president is involved, and he's enabling other people and to take advantage over the minister union people them. That is just not a good portrayal of justice in our country. That is not, because enough of be that way. Then we see another instance in which a member of parliament, Jibao, if I get it right, if my recollection is correct, he has been complaining about him picking a loss in life. Now some establishment where that establishment, they get a record of people being killed in that place there, but nothing seems to come out of it. Okay? That should not be. The police, you can't just treat murder like an ordinary traffic violation, because you're setting the country up for danger. Nothing a criminal likes, like nothing coming out of something. I remember as a child, people are going to say, I go beat you, I pay for you. But that should not be a slogan. Okay? But we get that situation there. So you get this MP, we insert the complaint about injustice. That even instances as an MP, and I think as a lawyer, is unable to get to the bottom of why this establishment is not being held for what appears to be complacency, or enabling criminality for take place in the premises. And this is a member of parliament. And then sometimes what concerns me, if a member of parliament get this kind of complaint, he seems helpless to do anything. Okay? And if a minister, they get that kind of problem there. If a judge, they get that kind of problem there. Well, where does that leave us? Where does that leave the ordinary man? For whom the government really need to work efficiently and protect. So these are some of the things then with some we can talk, not for say, people can always take things for say, oh, we're not criticize. No, being critical of the government is a good faith attempt for improve the system for everyone. A good faith attempt, not to criticizing or not to criticism whatsoever. People in really need to understand that, because sometimes we are so accustomed to not disagreeing with each other, even though you disagree with the person, or not expressing disagreement with each other, that people take it offensively. And those who don't take it offensively begin to read political purpose or intent behind it. But the trouble is, for people like we just the one that say, why should it be so hard? Because there are established rules of engagement. How would they drive on the road? How we treat each other, the courtesy, what we get for exercise towards each other. So why do we think doing otherwise is a lot better? So my thing is, we have to really begin to take this thing serious. But what me observe, this is just my observation, very little time, we talk about, we want to amend the constitution, we want to do this, we want to do that. But when you begin to look at what they talk about amending the constitution, They're not even getting to the root cause of the problems we would get to with the Constitution. And I have taken the position, and it's so, we're talking about frustration. It's frustrating in the sense that you want to forget the powers to be, like the Attorney General, or like the Chief Justice, or the Director of Public Prosecution, or the ACC Commissioner. These are people who are the top brass of the dispensation of justice. You can't get them on the shows. For let them come, let them explain, let them tell we what they mean, how they want to go about it, for enable people them, because we don't expect them to know all them things here. But what mechanism do they have in place when things are not working for them to know or to become aware? You see? So, and the system is such, if there are less trials in our country, how are we going to train we lawyers them to become defenders of constitutional rights when these rights of people are violated? If we not get a system way for allow young lawyers them for become efficient defenders of people their rights. Okay, so in this country, in the United States, we get all kinds of lawyers. But in the dispensation within the corners of the courtroom, you get what we will call criminal or defense lawyers then. Or we get what you call courtroom lawyers, because not all rights have to do with criminality. There are certain rights also in civil matters. So if we not train lawyers then for know the rules of evidence in a courtroom, you can jeopardize a defendant in right or a plaintiff in right, allowing inadmissible evidence for coming to a trial which can prejudice a whole case. Okay? So in the United States, we even get a whole set in law schools, then get what you call professor of practice, meaning courtroom decorum, how to conduct a trial. So there are so many things where we need to do. Then all of a sudden you see this thing about replacement or repealing of the Criminal Procedure Act of 1965. My position is simple. Well, if you're going to repeal it, I mean, put it out there so some of us, even living abroad, can make meaningful contribution to what the replacement is going to be. One of the things I complain about, and I'm saying it again, we replace the jury system, except for, I think, murder or treason, with a system that was never tried, that has never been tried before doing the replacing of the jury system. We know, as a matter of fact, the jury system has been in existence for more than 200 years. And it has worked very well. We are not aware of any other system that replaces what we call fair dispensation of justice. But for whatever reason, whatever the motivation was, and this goes beyond politics, because even a lot of lawyers, them agree, say the jury system should be replaced. And no one has been able to tell me why is the replacement, number one, necessary, and number two, what it is replaced by is a better system. Looking at the statistical evidence then get for tell we why the jury system was so inefficient. I have been told by a highly respected lawyer in Sierra Leone, say the reason for wanting to dispense or for dispose of the jury system was because of the high level of illiteracy. I just don't buy that argument. It don't make any sense to me. Because if the white people that we introduced the jury system to we, during the time where the vast majority of Sierra Leoneans, particularly outside the Western area, couldn't read and write, and were able to find jurors within the community who could sit in fair trial of them fellow citizens. And it worked with interpreters. Why wouldn't it work now when we get more educated people? Why wouldn't it work better now we for try to improve what we inherited from the white man? But we're not doing that. Instead, lately, I'm beginning to see some of our intellectuals, because I've seen the minister make that comment there. In fact, two ministers, or one former minister, talking about, the colonial system that we inherited has not been working for us. I challenge that. That's not true. What we've done, we've diluted that system there. We try to shortcut that system there without replacing that system the way we inherit with anything meaningful or effective. That's why things have not been working. You don't change things for change's sake. You change things out of necessity, and when you change them, you for replace them with something more workable, more efficient, more advantageous, and in many ways, good for the people. So these are some of the things that people like me, they complain about. So when changes are being made, we're not talking about how changes are being made for the better. Now, again, going back to the Criminal Procedure Act that is going to be replaced, among some of the general things that we didn't talk about, then talk about dispensation of justice, the length of time, where generally in the United States we'll call a speedy trial. Okay? When it's a trial, really within the framework of the dispensation of justice. It is true that in Sierra Leone, people are being held for an over extraordinarily long length of time. People are being held in detention without bail for years, awaiting trial. Okay, it is a fact. So the Criminal Procedure Act is trying to say they will go take care of that. But they need for make we know, and the lawyers them, and the country, and again, you see, when these laws are passed, it is the responsibility of the bar or the lawyers then for begin to test the efficacy or the effectiveness of their laws there. So when they talk about speedy trial, even if you say a case has to be brought to trial within 6 months or a year, there could be circumstances under which a case cannot be brought to a trial within that period of time. A classic example in what was to me I would consider to be appalling was the treason trial of certain people who presumably were alleged to have been trying to overthrow the government. Okay. And the people who were charged in about 4-5 months, they already had been convicted. I mean, a treason trial is not a traffic case. A treason trial calls for high level of skills in trying cases, high level of being a trial attorney. A treason trial calls for every protection of the rights of the accused. A treason trial is a reflection of the growth of the judicial system of a country. So when you charge a man from the time they charge him with a crime to the time they put him on trial, it's a matter of months. Something is wrong with that system. Because in criminal practice, there is what you call discovery period, where that alone, and then what you call pre-trial motions, okay? That alone should take 6 months to a year in terms of how you deal with all the levels there, because you try to protect that individual in right, the person who's been accused. This is the reason why the system has to be free of political influence. And because we don't see going way back with some trials in which people have lost their lives, were highly politically influenced, going all the way back to the Stevens era, as a matter of fact. Okay? I always refer people them to the case of Dr. Fona Ibrahim Chaki and others who ended up being executed because they were found guilty, you know, and then somehow the government used the extrajudicial power for undercut the right of them to prepare for appeal, and they were killed. Is that what we want for the country? That would I get the power should just get the right for just shortcut the system? If that's the case, what's the point in having the law? Okay. Now, with all what I'm saying, let me just stop briefly to tell the audience, the lines are open. If you get anything where you want to contribute or call a question, please feel free to call in. But going back to the Criminal Procedure Act, they are talking about dispensation of justice, the period of time it will take, how to protect vulnerable witnesses. They are talking about alternative sentencing. They are talking about the right of the defendant to assist in his own defense. Okay, but what would they talk about in there? Like what they say, speedy trial, what they call the dispensation of justice, the length of time. Okay, it's good to deal with that issue there and put down within the bounds of reasonableness as to how long justice should take from the person, from the moment of arrest to the moment of conviction, you know, or acquittal. All right. So that one. The other thing is when I say protection of vulnerable witnesses. So the thing is, if we not get witness protection system, so is it just going to be on the books about protecting vulnerable witnesses, whoever they may be? How do we protect them? And who are these witnesses who need protection? Is it the ordinary witness who comes to court and testify against the ordinary defendant? Then it's in fear of bodily harm because it testified? Or are we inferring system or practices whereby someone comes to court, he testifies, and then there is some political retribution or vengeance or retaliation? So is that what we're talking about? Some of these things, they need to be discussed. And these are some of the things that I would love to have, like the Attorney General, if you would show up on our show. Let's just, with the utmost respect, just ask and what's the intent, you know, the intent in there. And when we talk about alternative sentencing, we want to be sure that the phrase itself has a meaning to it, alternative sentencing. In the United States, we know what that means. Okay, alternative sentencing, mostly they deal with if the person is guilty, does he or she have to go to jail? Or whether there are other means, like what you will call suspended sentences, probationary sentences, you know, split sentencing. You know, split sentencing is where you say, okay, the person go pull hard time in a prison, in a jail or prison for so long, then half of that period it will serve outside prison. Alternative sentencing could be just probation, as you put on probation. And this creates less burden in the system because every time, because one thing we don't know back home, would lock everybody up for everything. Every violation will face in a jail, which is a misuse, abuse of the system, and the system cannot even sustain that. The system cannot sustain that because it's expensive to lock up everybody. Somebody loses control of his car, they go bang the pole. When I arrest them, they go jail. What's in at the point? I mean, are you telling someone he or she cannot have an accident? An accident is an accident. Everybody gets that. Or somebody that drive a motor car, 8 o'clock in the night, you know, putting headlight on. Okay, the police pull them, they arrest them. Is that something to go to jail for? Or is that something that just require a warning? They don't even require a citation. So these are some of the practical things, but how are lawyers or the system going to know all these things? We have to expose with judges and lawyers and with administrators and within the judicial system to comparative judicial systems. They can't just be trying to implement stuff on the books. without having seen the practical aspect or the applicability of the laws there. You see, this is why sometimes I take issue with lawyers them, with judges them. Some judges from Sierra Leone, because I know one or two who have been here and they have gone to what you would call the Judge College, Reno, Nevada. Some. But the vast majority of we judges and we lawyers them who are engaged in active practices, civil or criminal, they don't even take the time to come here and just see how the system works or learn anything about it. They have no interest in going to the courtroom. When I went to England for the very first time as an American lawyer, in the company of fellow or colleagues of mine, part of our agenda was to go to Old Bailey, where the courts are in London, and watch criminal and civil proceedings and see how they conduct trials in comparison to we new system in America. It's surprising to me that we lawyers in back home, they can America. Now courtroom self, they no one see or pass near. They have no interest in it. They don't care about procedures. They don't care about what justice appears to be or the appearance of justice. They don't care for see what steps could be taken. They don't care for learn any improved system. And these are some of the things I always wonder about. So how do we intend to improve the system if we don't learn about other system? And if we learn about other system, how do we improve it if we don't apply some of the superior quality of the system that we would learn? You see? So these are some of the things that some of we can they talk about, where some people might misunderstand it, them for say, oh, now, what, I mean, there's nothing wrong with criticizing. So I'm not trying to be defensive about criticism. Because if I criticize, and I'm doing so in good faith for improve our own system. Because having been in this country for such a long time, all some of them things we want to see implemented in our own country, I think so we deserve. You know, for be a dream anymore. This for be a reality. Okay? And some of them things there. So with the talk about with people them are entitled to such a thing. So what would you talk about again, going back to this alternative sentencing? What does it mean? I mean, the phrase sounds good, but the people who put it on paper, do they know what they're talking about? What experience do they have in terms of alternative sentencing or as a practical matter? Or this is just something they've read somewhere. So theoretically, they know about it. But practically speaking, given the desire, the opportunity to implement them, they don't know how to do it because they've never seen one in operation. Because when we talk about alternative sentencing, it takes money. Okay, it's easy to say, but if you're not going to lock somebody up and you're going to and put him on probation, who monitors this person when the person is on probation? You have to have probation officers. You know, that's an industry all by itself. Of course, it solves problem. It creates employment, number one. But it streamlines and make the system more efficient, whether someone is in compliance. If a judge puts somebody on probation and say, do not contact, let's say in a domestic matter, one party is issued, don't contact the other party, directly or indirectly. Okay? And if the person is on probation, it's made clear to you that will be a violation of your condition of your probation. Then you ignore that. Directly or indirectly, you contact the other party. Well, who monitors that? How do you know it's not your word against the other person? Then if you get probation officer, you report to periodically for make sure say you are not breaking the law or making fun of the system. So what we just put say part of the repealing of the Criminal Procedure Act, these are some of the things we want to achieve. Alternative sentencing. Are we prepared? Do we know how that works? And do we have the funding for it? Or the funds for it? So it's easy to have words like alternative sentencing. I mean, which I agree. There is also part of this thing, then the advocates say, for enable the defendant or the accused for participate in his own defense. But they need to elaborate a little bit more on how do you participate in your own defense? You know, how do they enable the defendant to participate in his own defense, which I'm 100% in agreement with. Okay, but for someone like me who spent at least 30 years in a courtroom, butting heads with lawyers on the opposite side, with the government, you know, how does a defendant participate in his own defense within the framework of the Constitution? And I've always advocated that it would be nice if we lawyers then back home are trained along handling cases on constitutional grounds, more so than statutory defenses, which are also good. But sometimes you have to go a step higher to defend cases on constitutional basis. Because when you do that one day, you are putting to test the validity of a law passed by Parliament. And I've always expressed to one or two that there is this mistaken belief in Australia that once something is called an act, like the Criminal Procedure Act, that becomes lawful. No, it doesn't. Just because a law is passed by Parliament doesn't make it lawful. If that law is in violation of provisions of the Constitution, that law is unlawful. But how do you make it become officially unlawful? You challenge it in courts. Okay? And raise that issue there for a court to pass a ruling on it to see whether whatever the law says is within the framework of the Constitution. Because that is very important. But we believe back home say, as soon as they say act, an act is nothing but just a law. But it sounds big. Oh, you know, the Criminal Procedure Act. Well, the Criminal Procedure Act all by itself could be unlawful. Could be. Or some aspect of it could be unlawful. Or can be unlawful. But once it's passed by Parliament, it becomes the law until it's challenged. And the only way you challenge that now based on constitutional issues. So I also try to remind people and say, we have what you call a constitutional democracy, not to the full-time common law practice, you know, where there are just some elements of a crime. And if those elements are violated, then you commit a crime. So these are some of the things that we try. So when they talk about alternative sentencing, do they understand what they're talking about? How are they going to get funding to carry out alternative sentencing, which could or may include particularly probationary sentencing? So people don't have to serve active time in jail, but they're still being supervised. They have certain conditions to meet, even as far as traffic offenses, because like Naya in the United States, they don't put you on a probationary sentence, but they are always on traffic case. But there are always creative ways now this country for make you become a better driver if you are in violation of the law, of the traffic laws. Then can send you to go back to driving school and take 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours of driving school lessons. And then if you show proof of having taken that, it can mitigate or bring down the level of the offense, the traffic offense of which you are charged. Okay? For say, okay, you try to be a better driver. You know, say, carelessly and recklessly driving on the streets or the highway could endanger the lives of others and yourself. Now that make you don't go driving school now for try for show you say laws are meant to be complied with, and on and on and on and on. And then when the prosecutor sees that, the prosecution is given wide latitude of discretion. It could dismiss the charge against you. It can reduce the charges against you, you know, or it can refuse for do anything. But the fact that you've gone to driving school demonstrates good faith that you're trying to improve. It also indicates that you are remorseful for what you've done. And it also indicates that you, or it's an implication of you wanting to be or trying to be a better driver. So these are some of the things we could for the follow. But we cannot follow the engineer and put them into proper practice and make the outcome come the way we intend them. If we now get people with actual practice and experience, people who have been in systems of the types that we're recommending, what worries me is that we are good at just copying stuff from other countries, using words and phrases of which we're not familiar. That gets me concerned sometimes, you know? And I'm not trying to be disrespectful or anything. Let me stop right here. Let me just take a call and I'll be back on. Hello, caller. What's your name? Side to call from?
Yes, Mr. Shiron, I'm again for the Mustafa.
Hello, Mr.
It's a long time.
Nice. Yeah, it's been a while. Nice talking to you again.
At the holiday season, the whole way. Okay, so thank you very much. So you see, I don't listen to all the announcements they make about these laws, Criminal Procedure Act, whatever. Now the which man they can't put in that kind of governance system there. I make the one they would in power, that they use their offices for disadvantage others. I can understand where it also talks to lawyers the need for try the law, now go to court. But if you look at the precedent, what don't happen, not to say enough for trial, but you see how they deal with that case, any case we get government interest, no judge in a salon, no they put much there. I mean the contrary for may go against the Fritzy. Even Paulo Conte, that jury business, now he make it a free ammo. Even having George didn't get that case, then they kill him. If I don't kill him, I'll put on ourselves forever. You talk back, how then they don't season case in 6 months or 3 months. It not be anybody other one when it's in a coup. Because you get government interest. It go fast. The boss will go thief orange. Then go take and put in a prison for years. Then they call that case that they go do it rotting. Look that boy way quit way la lima shoot nine leg na security them. Instead of kind of na shooting, they kind of gonna sell. Now they don't lose the foot. They see the other foot back they lost them. So now the kind of judiciary this way you talk about, we cannot no way use even try the law because it's going to be used against people. You see now, okay, let's just give another example. I don't give you this over and over and they say LAJ, they say a thief na filling station. That money we they say that man thief. You can able to find and say pay that money day. How much here I spend na prison? For money where somebody for pay. Me now when they talk to you, I read them sentence one boy for 1,300,000 for phone or 1,500,000. Where I see the tweet now, I reply to the judiciary. I said, una give me this money, pay this money, because human being for dinner sell for 1,500,000. One day they don't respond to me. And that happens not in a prison. So now this is the judiciary we talk about. Well, maybe you'd imagine, say, we on judiciary go, they do something correct. No, if they do things the way you see say correct, they must have been pushed to the corner that the evidence, they at all. No way that thing was seen as okay, Lord left this man. But we see a small obscurity, or there's somebody who can't talk, say, I see this man will kick this man, or this man will slap this man. That the more than one area for me to convict that other man. So the law in Sierra Leone is being used. Even look the opposition, which they do right now, because I heard Mr. Kabubak talk about the nonsense way APC they do, where they make laws they're no inside the room, we don't make no sense. That the man is talk say this is a law. Now we own constitution this. So the law back now people and most of the money they make them. If somebody go make a law for disadvantaged others, clearly we then pass an as a law, like use them. Like you say, well, look at this man right now where they say he killed somebody in our city council. You hear about that case day? But that because that person they he get people in our government. Somebody where Mohammed Kamarimba where they say yeah, I really say he do this, I really say they put an say not to 4 year, one die day. So this is I did just give them reference there. I mean you see say the law where you talk about that the US and the law within a saloon, they're not near. The law again a saloon are the law of man, we in a mortal man. And we should see powerful, now in the make the law them and we he says you weaker, he will not get no influence, use against you, and then they find you guilty at the court of law and they say that the law, that's what the law say. And I just say that, just give me one small talk why don't they really explain they talk about anything there. That appear for sir.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Mustafa.
Okay.
Now,
You get
I
response to
am
that because I just say like you point.
okay. I have no disagreement with anything what you just said. You're right. The thing is, the system as it is something we disagree with because not to aspiration now and they forget a system. And I will not forget, say, we get a history of how we get this system of laws that we have. The thing we would try, because I give examples, I don't know at what point you be listening to me, a narrative. We get a situation where a member of parliament claim unfair treatment at the hands of the deputy or the vice president because he was frustrated. So what we talk about the system, now that made it try to point out. This is a member of parliament. In fact, I think this guy, no, it was not a member of parliament. I think it was a deputy minister who complained, having gone to the president everywhere, he wasn't getting anywhere. He say the vice president concerning some diamond issue extract undue influence against this deputy minister in people. That's why he's coming out, because he's not being able to get redress from the system. I give you that example of this. I give you about a member of parliament, Givao, who himself is a lawyer, who lost a son at some establishment that had a history of people being killed, or at least a couple of times prior to this man Leone, who himself was frustrated because the police, he claimed, not be to do anything. So you begin to ask, now, if that is happening to the powerful, what do you think is happening to the powerless? So I'm bringing all this up Let me just stop right there. I'll continue my thought. Maybe I'd not keep somebody on hold for too long. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you call from?
Good afternoon, Mr. Sheldon. How the body, sir?
Fine, sir. Howdy, buddy. Nice to talk to you.
Same here, Mr. Sheldon. This night your brother from Washington, the call.
Okay. Nice for you voice.
I want for piggyback. I don't know if I the echo. Are the echo?
No, you're not. I hear you clearly without echo.
Okay. I want for piggyback with what you to talk about this justice system. And it is sad that the people are waiting for uphold the justice system as an institution, meaning the lawyers and the judges and the police. It is very sad that if you dig into them, they are part of the problem in a very corrupt way. For example, let's look at the legal aspect na salon, the lawyers na salon. If you look at the biggest problem na salon, like land, and you see the role of the lawyers, it's disgusting. The role inside the whole corruption in land issue na salon since the Civil War to today. Today, lawyers them na salon as a whole have more wealth than the doctors or engineers or any other profession for that matter, I will argue. Based on what? I mean, what kind of, what did go on that salon where lawyers for make that kind of money? But this tie again to the judges is all part of this the nonsense. The judge and they're not independent. Cases are delayed. There is no review mechanism to review, judge them. The cases, then what they appear in front of them, how long those cases take. And based on whatever they administer, whatever justice they administer, I mean, how many reviews? But it's the whole system tied up in this nonsense. Every institution you look at, the economy is tied to a criminal cartel that have run the economy, now the country, to their own benefit, to the detriment of the country for the last 75 years. And all of that, when we talk about reform, they talk about all kind of nonsense about the economy, but they'll not go ever talk about the Lebanese role in the economy. Putting at the role how make we not food sovereign. Forget food security. Yeah, you go up and down. You go up and down. You go up and down. I mean, a lot of us have had problem with land salad in our own personal struggles with the nonsense. But what the country need, instead of more laws, instead of more whatever, we just need a reform and try to do the best or the best with what we get. And this is part of the problem with the big five failure. I mean, people, I'm sorry, I know how to go all over the place, but I'm just the try for tie all this up and give example. You know, it's just it's just very sad. You look at the big five for the last 7 years. Urana Salongo said this has been a success. The president have a great idea for bring more picking them into the education system to participate. Yes, there's more kids today enrolled in school at Salon more than any time in history. But at what cost? Instead of the president for don't make this throughout the whole country, can you imagine if the president have made this in one district 5 years ago, start in one district, try this out, where you get the right teachers in the classroom, where you pay the right teachers, where you give them the tools and training necessary, where you construct and build more building because you bring more picking them at the school, where if we don't revamp the education system itself, to educate the kids for what in the economy need, instead of tons of lawyers for voting. What in the governor salon? We will need so much lawyers. We will have more lawyers than doctors. Why we have more lawyers than doctors in a salon? Why we have more lawyers than engineers in a salon? Why Gaza? Gaza. A small Gaza, where has been on embargo for over 20 years. One will argue for over 75 years. Produce more doctors, produce more engineers than Salon. We'll get minerals. How many scientists will go or engineers will go for minerals?
Okay, if I may interrupt you,
Anyway,
the boss
yes.
that will go on. If you want, you can call back. But thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Your point is well taken. I hope other listeners then go, I agree. I maybe disagree with you, but that's the whole purpose of this show. But you make some points.
Indeed.
I just touch on them before we run out of time. Though we're not very close to running out of time, but I want to make we cover as much issues as we can. But before I respond to or elaborate on that, let me take another call. Hello, caller. Which name you say you call from? Hello. No, you the echo. You the echo. Your voice is not coming through. Hello, caller. Hello, caller. Okay, I think we probably lost the caller. He will call back. Let me just move on to something. The last caller just mentioned something where I just want to touch on. And because this is sometimes why, okay, I just don't want to let people in there on the line too long. Let me just see if I can take this person and call. Hello, caller. What your name is I call from?
Yes, Mr. Still on this now. Alpha Cecilia, the call from Anchorage, Alaska.
Mr. Cecilia, welcome from the great state of Alaska.
Yes, sir. You just hit on so many points today where you actually right. You know, people then they go school na salon, and I don't mean for bash nobody when they go school there, and they just go for read books, but then they actually practicalize what and then go learn. In fact, we go na salon, you meet with people then where they discuss with them. Just a regular talk. You know, we differentiate between somebody will go college, somebody will not go college. They all sound the same. Yeah. Even sometimes like me Facebook page, I know people that we didn't go to college, we didn't well educated. They tell me, say I look pretty, you know, and me just they tell and say thank you, you know. They don't know the difference between the pretty and the handsome, you know. Small thing that like that, they don't know. Yeah. So thank you, I rest because today. God bless. And I thank you.
Thank you for calling. Thank you for calling. I
Yeah.
appreciate the contribution and the observation.
Yeah.
So thanks a
Thank you.
lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
a caller previous to you, the last caller, said something in passing. When he say, let me just start with the current government. He say the president had great idea by proposing free education for us, for everybody. And I agree with him. It's a great idea. You know, that should be the ultimate goal of a good system. Try to educate, if not all, as much as the citizenry, because the more education we get, the more enlightened we get, the better judgment we can make. So when you say the president get great idea, I agree with him. What I think people in the conflict sometimes, the president in great idea did not materialize to what the ultimate goal should have been, would have been, had it been implemented properly. This free education. Okay? Please let caller then just bear with me just 1 or 2 minutes. So the idea was great. Any idea about giving education to the most of the children, then you cannot disagree with that idea. But what I think the mistake was, which is common now with society, with the turn over the management, because that's what president should be. You get an idea, you get a vision, you turn it over to you intellectuals, then where you say that the people in this will carry out your ideas, your vision. So I don't expect the president to be a neurosurgeon, or a nuclear scientist, or a constitutional lawyer. No. He thinks about something, he has a vision for the country, he should be able to form a team, and he should be able to have an educational system that should be able to carry out in wishes, in vision. You see? So what I think failed here is the president had that great idea, but it never materialized to what he intended, I'm sure, because he did not have the right people on his team to carry it out to an efficiency or an efficient accomplishment. So these are some of the things we talk about. Because if you want to implement free education, there are people who specialize in education. Education is a specialty. It's a field all by itself. Having a PhD or a master's degree in science, in the arts, not qualify you for being a school administrator or an educational expert. These are some of the mistakes we make. So when you make somebody a minister for education, we get carried away with PhD former ministers then and current ministers then. That is just a symbolic role you play as a minister of education. Now the team where you put together and what you try to implement now in count. And that team they forget experts then. Experts in education for achieve the goal of the president, which is so often repeated in Sierra Leone that we just don't know how to carry policy. Then we will put a committee together. It's a committee of people who know nothing about what the committee is being formed for. This is what is putting us behind, And then that caller, they talk about program. When we think about them great ideas here, we should start a pilot program. A pilot program that's a small example. Say, okay, this is what the president is thinking of. Let's give it a try. Let's say a Bombali district or the president in your district where come out, where he say na home. I think say if you're not president, you're not the father of the nation. But let's say you want to start something experimentally. You can start in your village, you can start in your town, you can start in a bowl where you go to school. You can start in a Freetown, you can start anywhere. But start in a small way for see if it is workable, because not everything what you think of might be practical or workable. So this we'll call and say, no pilot program was put in place so the president get free education idea, but the implementation, and in fact, and the creation and the foundation of it were just off base. So it never was done right. So still people have still been deprived of going to school. People who are going to some of the schools that are government funded they still have to come up with so much money with their parents not to make. So, accomplish the goal. Let me take a call and I will continue with comments. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you call from?
Hello. Mina Lavalade call from Ohio.
Mr. Lavalley, I remember the name. It's nice hearing from you. I'm glad to hear from you.
Thank you so much. Me, where I can count on this platform, no matter of what concern the poor man salon, which is the benefit. Now, me they look at in the perspective. I think the justice reform is in the right direction. The implementation, now me they look for see how that therefore fan out. Because for far too long, there are inconsistency in the process of the justice system, where one person could be happy with the outcome of a case, another person not go happy, and somebody go be stuck in jail for far too long. At least if they mitigate that through this justice reform, for minimize some of these unintended occurrences where somebody we not supposed to spend 72 hours inside jail, not supposed to spend them. I think that will leverage and reduce some of these problems where the justice systems they occur where they happen. So now the right direction, in my opinion, because this is far too long overdue. Then me go talk about everybody. One caller talk about everybody want to be lawyers. This is just personal responsibility. I mean, we all get the responsibility for educate our children, for guide them on their career path. Themselves, the children themselves have their virtue for direct their own intellect as to waiting they want for be in the career. If everybody want to be lawyer, the government is not going to force anybody for be a lawyer. Everybody. Mr. Mengo decided to be an engineer. Nobody forced him. He chose to be an engineer. He went to school for that. He was certified. Why would every Sierra Leonean want to be a lawyer? That's a question we want start look into and say, do we have to always be a lawyer? Can individual people not choose their own career path? Government cannot force everybody to be on the one path of career. So me go say, Israelians themselves, when they go school picking them, then they choose the right career path for their own future. That is individual responsibility. That is all tied to patriotism. If you want to be helpful to the nation, choose a career path where you go use for help for develop the country. You don't have to be a lawyer. Everybody have to be a lawyer and all ready for being a lawyer. So that area I go left unto the individuals the way they choose the career path, because it look like not too many engineers want to be engineers. Well, I mean, students no one for be engineers. They don't want to be mathematicians. They don't want to be doctors. They just see the political arena, say quick lawyer, quick politician, quick minister, quick money. That's what they want to do, because they think saying so they're going to be wealthy and just make quick money in corruption. So we want to start to narrow our perception as to how the country they go. We citizens, how are we helping the government for forge the direction or the trajectory to the way the government want for lead the nation, like the free education? the propensity of the percentage of people where they go school now is high. How many parents they compliment that for make sure say, man, sit you down for study you. Make a guide you for make a carry go to school. Make sure say the little are able to contribute for make the free education become vital. How am I helping my child? So I think we have a good project proposal, and the way how we implement them, probably we have to help the government for forge ahead, for make a meaningful result to be manifested to the public. And then amigo think say we need for look into our own individual self for help, how we can help for contribute for build the nation. That's my opinion.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Lavalley. Nice to hear from you. I appreciate you listening and contributing to ideas. Let me just comment on some of the things you say. Always a change is welcome. Like the Criminal Procedure Act of 1965 wouldn't say any repeal. Because when you say you repeal an entire act, you mean you discontinue them. You mean you replace them. But sometimes some of the things the previous caller called about is one our problem. Just don't make changes for the sake of it. Make changes because there is a need to. And the changes where you make, you will always try for make sure say it better than what you did replace. Because if you replace something that was workable and efficient just because you know one change, it causes nothing but not only retrogression, going backwards, but it causes confusion. Okay? So my thing about, like I said, because it's a common practice in our country, because I know that, well, judicial reform, without a doubt, calls for, in its tremendous amount of restructuring, or redoing. No question about it. My only concern is who are the ones entrusted with the responsibility of making the necessary decision to replace an entire act. And how qualified are these people, whether it's a committee, whether it's a board of trustees, whatever it is, what expertise do they have to replace already existing laws? People are in jail for too long who are accused of crimes. I don't believe it's because the system of itself, is because of the administration of justice, not the problem, not to the law. Okay? And then I also believe the advocacy of lawyers then is not up to the level or for the challenge their unnecessary or undue or unfair delays there. So I'm putting more pressure on the profession itself. And it didn't do any good where the law officer society became so highly politicized for the first time in our country, which was so unnecessary that it leads another group of lawyers to form another group of professional lawyers association. You see, because politics should have had nothing to do with the bar association. I just even don't see the necessity and the need or the prudence or the smartness of that, because it was working. We are supposed to, I don't care what our political positions, but we are the whole thing behind being a lawyer, and this profession was once being referred to as the noble profession. Our goal should be towards justice, not injustice. No matter what you think politically, because it's a matter of time. When you enable the system, I always remind people, and people need to understand something. A constitution of a country is not about how to regulate the activities of people. It is how to minimize the power of the government That's what the Constitution is all about. How to prevent the government from abusing individual rights. A constitution that guarantees of the rights of people, and how to hold the government accountable if they abuse their rights. Then we, the individual, we own activities are regulated by what you want to call acts, or we say statutory laws. How we behave towards each other. How not for commit assault. How not for break and not commit robbery. How not for commit murder. Now statute, not the Constitution to cover all the one a day. Now statutory law to cover the thing a day. So it looks like somewhere down the line, the one that will be claimed for being expert will put some of the Constitution together and get it all boxed up. Statutory law get mixed up with constitutional law. So then now we have to go back to square one for decipher or separate one from the other. So as we talk about replacing or repealing the Criminal Procedure Act of 1965, I am only hoping that when they use phrases like alternative sentencing, they actually know what it means. Don't have it in the books just for the heck of it. And then if we know what it means, let us carry it out. I take the position that we don't have the means by which we can sustain alternative sentencing, even though that should be part and parcel of the justice system. Because if you sentence somebody, if you give somebody probationary sentence, how do you know the person is complying with the probation, with the probation or the probationary conditions? Unless you get a body of employees under a general heading of probationers, I mean, who are entrusted with responsibility of monitoring activities of someone who is on probation. So these are some of the things. So I want people to understand. So don't let us just use names then. When we talk about, then you use things like dispensation of justice, where by implication they're talking about speedy trial. Grasp the real meaning of speedy trial and what it means in the overall concept of dispensation of justice. You know, when I talk about the protection of witnesses, what type of witnesses are we talking about? Just ordinary witnesses who go to court and testify that, hey, I see this man will bang somebody in car, or we're talking about political witnesses or people who are witnesses in politically sensitive cases. You know, now, I think I may stand alone in my assessment or criticism of certain things. But there is one thing I've given this government a lot of credit about. I don't know whether the intended consequence landed by the president, but I'm in agreement with him. The abolition or the disposition of the death penalty, I think that's a very progressive move. I think that's in line with international standards. And I think that's in line with the promotion of justice, because the idea about capital punishment, you know, people can argue on either side, but you begin to wonder if it takes a certain level of lawyer to defend someone whose life is on the line. Is our system is so equipped as to be sure that someone who's going to be put to death is actually guilty of what he's being charged with? And even if you see someone kill someone, have we explored all the possibilities of what all is involved? Does this person have a mental problem? Was this person overreacted? You know? As a result of that, caused the death of someone? Was this person being overly aggressive? But how do these things all come out depends on the skill and the level of the trial that we will conduct. Now I use the treason thing. I'm not impressed when a person is charged with treason and in 5 months he's been convicted. Something is wrong with the system like that. I know the ones behind the authorities behind it are in a hurry to dispose of whoever is being charged with that. But for the protection of society, we'll for sure more interest in that. So I'm just saying that Or when we see demolition of homes, every department just to get a director give order for go demolish. It shouldn't be that way. Only the court should be entitled to the power of issuing an order to demolish someone's property or any property. It can't be a director or a minister. That is wrong. You know, go to court, follow the process, get an order by court, give the other person whose property is about to be disposed of the right to argue why it should not be done. And it could be something as simple as just sentimental reasons. But let's get that person the opportunity. We want to do so. With a grab, all of a sudden you see them go demolish. I'm not condemning the demolition practice itself. The manner in which it's being done, you know, this is what I'm condemning. Some houses probably need to be disposed of because they probably knew they should not have built them there, you know. So the destruction of that home there probably can be justified. But let's just do it humanely, fairly, orderly. These are some of the things that when they talk about when I talk about certain things. So someone gave an example of LAJ, say go thief, or this is a musician, I think the guy, next thing you know, he was arrested. Next thing you know, he get dreadlock. The police caught all in here. You know, say, this is just not right. I don't even know who LAJ is. Okay? But when you protect an LAJ, you protect yourself and your loved ones then. When you empower the system for take advantage of someone, go and brutalize someone because he's in detention, you setting yourself up because that could happen to your loved one. So for me, an American trained lawyer, I find it difficult to just adjust my thinking to that kind of thing. And I don't know how is it that lawyers don't challenge some of their activities there. Okay? And why is there not a civil liability? Because if someone is arrested, then the police just decide for coaching here and everything. You know, to me, practically speaking, I think that's a crime. It's an assault on the person by someone who's doing that under the color of law. That's an assault. Somebody being arrested and being and detained doesn't give the police the right to be the judge or a justice to mete out punishment to that person there. So I'm again, all the statements I'm making, and therefore we're all good. You can't say, oh, me na SLPP, na APC boy to help with that. Nah, because he will turn back, it will boomerang on you or the one who you love. It will therefore make the system fair to we all. You know? So now, there are so many things wrong with the system. We come up with this cyber law the last time. Way back, if someone go and review what you call, I did say, I think cyber law for Sierra Leone was premature. We don't get cyber crimes, not a major thing at this point. I'm not saying it's not needed, but not at this time with all the things that we will need. But for political reason, for the wrong reason, they insist and pass them. See how it's being used now. It's being misused. A classic case involved this, some of you will follow this Malador, this businessman, fairly wealthy businessman in Sierra Leone, where he was flim-flammed by some top military officers. Sierra Leone active military officers who should not even, really, to be honest with you, they never hold a position anymore if we're serious about good governance. Okay? And this man say he was out $50,000 fraudulently by a fraud perpetuated on him by people who are active senior members of the government. Everyone should be appalled. And then to compound the problem, when they report the matter, and then say he recorded the transaction when the other side was trying to deny, the police not feel appalled by what they people and do, take $50,000 from this guy. They arrest Mr. Malador Let's say he violate the cyber law because he record a transaction that was taking place between you and them people here. Now, how ridiculous can they make the system look? Now the intentionality of the cyber law, okay? And then they detain Matador. The police, extrajudicially, this excess power wouldn't not give him. They just detain the guy. He tried for getting $50,000 back. He's been flim-flammed by people who can be justifiably referred to as criminals in high office. And watching the police see for do they say, oh, will they detain you because you record the conversation between them people and they do not be know. Well, how is that a violation? What area in the law can they specifically say it violates the cyber law? And if in fact there's a statute or there's an act where say you cannot record a conversation between you and someone else, I think it's worth being challenged, because how else will he have been able to prove his case had it not been for the fact that he was an astute businessman, he used in common sense for protecting himself, despite the stature of them people in our society, for say, let record this conversation. Because there may come a time one day when something will go wrong, then we'll say, this not happen. I think a government should be appalled. The president should be appalled. You can't turn a blind eye to this and you say you're governing. These are some of the things that over the top. You know, because if it can happen to Mr. Matador, man will get money. Think of the ordinary person. It will happen to run too. Take the Samura Kamara case, over the top of political interference. All of a sudden, Samura Kamara case with this host now, New York, this and that was a big deal before election. Which I consider to be a waste of government funds for kind of New York, which was totally unnecessary to look at the building. What does it add to the substance of the evidence for the court for kind of New York and look at the building? Just a waste of government funds. Without a doubt. Okay? Because you not add anything to the substance of the case by coming to New York, by the court coming to New York. But that's what happened. And with all the hoo-ha, then everything went silent after election is over. Is that how we want to run the country? You know? And my displeasure, or my own displeasure is, I don't see much hope that if the other party can have power, this is the reason why I'm so much against the smaller parties being killed by them two parties. There is no way, if APC can have power, they will do any better. Because they are cut out of the same cloth. They are one and the same people. They are just, just get different labels. So this is not the spirit with which I criticize or I get critical of the system, because things could be better for we all. But that's not what's happening. That is not what is happening. And until we take seriously commitment to the law and try for dispense with the law to the best of our ability, because I sit here, I've been in the law business, 49 years. Same time next year will be 50 years as a licensed practicing attorney. So I'm just simply saying, based upon what you know, the little bit we don't learn, I would like to see more for judges then. I would still like to see more for locally trained lawyers in Australia. I've been here. Australian lawyers have come to this area where they have no interest in seeing how justice is dispensed. They're not even, in fact, if they say the courthouse in Shaka Stevens Street, then go all the way Circular Road for go big market. They don't even come near there. But these are the same people who get power, they want to implement policies. Policies that they are not interested in learning how to see how they operate. These are some of the things that they talk about. This is a practical thing. And things will never get better unless we intend for them to get better. But if we don't, what parliamentarians then pass law, I've said that in some of my previous broadcasting. Then when they implement the law, are doing it with the spirit of violating the law. That they are doing it with the spirit of the law to be workable. You know, then they kneecap the law the moment when they pass them. It's also almost in the spirit of, well, yeah, we pass this law, but this law not for will, not for una, the people. We are not part of the people. We're above that level there. This is what we see happening. And we are saying, let's get back to basics. Let's get back to what it means to govern. You know? Let's govern in the right spirit of progressiveness and not the spirit of just forming a committee, put together, have some friends, and then you say, oh, we get this, we get that. It is disheartening when you get a system whereby someone is held for marijuana possession. He then are jailed 3 months, it await trial, it await trial. I mean, 3 years, it await trial. Don't people see the unfairness of that? You know, those are some of the things then we made to talk about. And I don't have to know anyone in the system who suffers from that, but we do know statistically, in reality, it happens. And there's no one advocating. Question. I remember I talk about when they say like this change, this repealing, they want defendant for participating in his own defense. But how do you participate in your own defense? Do they actually know what they're talking about when they say you should participate in? Because if you really want a defendant to participate in defense, if you really do, you have to change the current composition or the structure of courtrooms in Sierra Leone. It is unconstitutional to have what we call a dock, where the defendant sits uncomfortably throughout weeks and weeks or months or hours and hours of trial. You put the man is on a bench. Why does he have to be, why does he have to sit on a bench? Hard wooden bench. Why can't he have something with sponge on it? Why is he in the dock? If he's in the dock, how does he contribute to his defense? When his lawyer is over there, sitting at a desk, and he not sit right to a lawyer, where if someone who is testifying against him says something to which he disagrees, and he wants for a Latin lawyer instantly say he's lying, or so and so, or asking so and so, the man is a distance from his lawyer, he cannot contribute to his defense. And I think even lawyers can challenge the current structure of the courtroom, the setup. These are some of the things that we own resourcefulness for tackle. Well, for tackle, this is how resourceful we should be. Change the system. Let the defendant be able to have access to his defense by sitting next to his attorney so he can make a contribution to that. So these are some of the things that we need to talk about. So we're out of time now. And so I really don't want to drag it on and on and on. And there were other issues that we're going to transportation and road development na Freetown and the rest of the country. But we'll get to that next week. Maybe then the able partner will be back. But I sure hope this has not been a boring segment. And I appreciate the one that will call and make contribution. There were some comments on the screen that I didn't have the opportunity to read. Well, I read them, but to read loud enough for the rest of the audience to see, because of the fact that people were calling in, and I didn't want to waste the time in doing that. But I thank you all for listening. Please tune in next time. Looking forward for hearing from you now. Until then, good night, goodbye. Thanks for listening.